I have been fortunate enough to work in two separate continents and to see the culture, the consumer, because the consumer pattern is very different, US versus UK. UK market is very challenging. It's one of the most regulated market in the world. And I think there are some broad difference of how we bring products alive in UK versus US. Like moving from US to UK, I could clearly see it. And UK consumers are quite ingredient aware. They do look behind the labels. So they like to understand what's behind the INCI, which makes it very demanding, as challenging and rewarding as a cosmetic scientist to develop products for them.
Welcome to a new season of Profit Talks, where innovation and purpose guide our conversations beyond beauty. Join us as we explore new ideas with inspiring voices from within and beyond the industry, because imagining what's ahead is the beauty of the future.
Welcome to a new episode of Profit Talks, the beauty of the future, the podcast where science, formulation, regulation, and all of that converge to map out what's next in beauty. Today's episode is especially exciting, right, Eloy?
Exactly. Well, it's always very nice to meet new people, and especially if they come from different countries, different markets in cosmetics. So today we are thrilled to welcome to Profit Talks to Rinki Pramanik from London.
Yes.
Straight
Thank
from
you
the
so
UK.
much.
Welcome to Profit Talks.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we're excited to have you here because you're not only an expert, but you're also so passionate about the beauty industry and, well, also passionate about communication. You have your own channel. We're going to talk about that. But you're not only a communicator, you live the cosmetics industry from so many angles. So we would like, first of all, for you to introduce yourself, maybe tell us about your career path. Maybe, tell us about some moment that defined your career, and of course, what inspired you to create your podcast INCI with Rinki.
I love the name, by the way.
Well, it's like I wanted to keep it very simple. So thank you for having me here for all the audience. I am Rinki. I am born and raised in beauty, I would say. And I have been always worked in the beauty and personal care industry. This year marks 15 years of career, truly across the globe. So I started in India, then United States, and past 6 years I'm in UK. So I have been fortunate enough to work across multiple brands, masstige, as well as prestige in the wide variety of category. Skincare, haircare, bath and body, you name it, I have done
Everything.
it. I have done it. I'm quite privileged to have that opportunity to do that in my career. Whether it's like launching almost like 500, close to 500 products now in 15 countries, still counting. Yeah, still a few more launches before I get to my like 500. I think that will make a mark, I would say.
Almost there.
Almost there. Yeah, I think like 495 and counting. So I have like a few launches coming up, like Q1, like 2026. So we'll hit that very soon. So I always feel fortunate that my role enables me to meet people, to meet suppliers, to have discussions with them, to understand about the ingredients. I have worked across private label, whether it's in US for Walmart, CVS, Costco, in UK for Boots, Superdrug, Tesco. I'm also able to work with some of the master brands of the world, so whether it's Neutrogena, Aveeno, as well as under Unilever Prestige division. So I truly am grateful for the career I have. So 10 months ago, like roughly 11 months ago, I thought we do celebrate our products. We do have award-winning launches and we do celebrate our awards for the products we make. We are very fortunate to do that, but we don't celebrate our ingredients enough. You see, apart from in cosmetics, we really do not have very strong awards for our ingredients. And I wanted to be an ingredient storyteller that like whispers why is that ingredient good and create a momentum in the industry. Because I truly believe innovative products exist because of innovative ingredients. If we do not have those heroes and workhorses behind, we would not be able to achieve the results we achieve in the cosmetics industry. And I wanted to be an advocate for the ingredients. So 10 months ago, I thought like, I want to make content based on science. I know it's technical, but I'll make it easy, understandable enough to the wider audience, because I think we are losing touch with science. But I truly think science is cool, and our cosmetic industry is very warm and welcoming. I just wanted to be that whisper that talks about molecules. So that's why we have INCI with Rinki.
Well, we have to say that's
No words.
amazing.
Amazing.
I think that the approach and the work that you're doing is tremendous and it's perfect, especially for us, because it's true that brands, they have to work on translating the science message to the consumers, but it's true that it's not easy. It's they don't always do it right, or they do it uneven. So your contribution here is super needed. So yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Well, you mentioned 6 years in the UK market now. I believe you have a lot of experience in this market. Could you explain to the audience how is this UK cosmetics market? And also, I think it would be interesting if you could also point some the main differences between other European markets or even the US, as it's the biggest one in the world.
Absolutely. So I have been fortunate enough to work in 2 separate continents and to see the culture, the consumer, because the consumer pattern is very different, US versus UK. UK market is very challenging. It's one of the most regulated market in the world. And I think there are some broad difference of how we bring products alive in UK versus US, like moving from US to UK, I could clearly see it. And UK consumers are quite ingredient aware. They do look behind the labels. So they like to understand what's behind the INCI, which makes it very demanding, as challenging and rewarding as a cosmetic scientist to develop products for them. I think from claims perspective, on-pack claims especially, what we want to put it on pack, it's quite regulated for UK market, even simple basic as soothing or brightening. I think you need to have, as a brand point of view, enough claim substantiation. The retailers in UK also are quite rigorous in terms of demanding documentation. Also, if you look into US versus EU overall. So post-Brexit, UK have its own set of regulation, but that heavily follows European Union, I would say, and quite mirror them from the approach point of view in terms of ingredient inclusion. So whether it's like allergen list or whether it's like the sun filters, pretty much it mimics with what European Union does. Now, for anyone to launch a product in UK market, actually, what they have to do, so you have to file a consumer product safety report, which is, we call it CPSR, which is done externally through independent toxicologist who will like analyze your formula from a safety and toxicology perspective, telling a green light, yes, it is okay to launch. And then you have to feed that information to the government through SCPN website, which is a equivalent version what we have CPNP for the European market. That is not needed when you are in US. So it is like, I think US FDA is trying to get into that model through introduction of MOCRA this year. But I think they are quite late in the game. They're just catching up. So from a regulation perspective, it's like stronger. I think in US, you have, at least if you are not classified on OTC, you can make a much more bolder claim, I would say. And I know, like, I have several, in numerous discussion with my brand team. It's like, we want to call this. I said, no, you can't.
You can't.
You can't. You can only tell X, Y, Z because that's allowed as a compliant claim. I think US brands have less hindrance in terms of like putting on-pack claim. I think they also, with the international retailers coming now, so whether it's like Sephora, whether it's like now Ulta Beauty merging and buying the Space NK. I think when the US brands who have like traditionally only sold in US, the moment they cross the Atlantic, they have to look into that pack copy again.
They have to change the claims, the way that they approach to the consumer.
Absolutely. So I think like you like what you claim on pack. So whether it's acne versus here we say blemishes, that language need to be streamlined for the UK market. So I think it's like, I feel I have lived up to the challenge for launching in UK, but it definitely was a learning curve. Like working so many years in US, it's like, okay, so although the product does X, you can only say Y. So it's a little limited.
Yeah, I guess it is. Actually, it's I'm guessing it's a very long process and a very complicated one, like you've said. So I wonder if you could, define a little bit the steps or the key points that are followed for the development of a formulation. You have plenty of experience. You've said it. I don't know, 500 almost?
Close to 500.
Okay, so those are many launches. So can you describe like the generic checkpoints that are done for a UK launch, and maybe things that you never compromise on your launches?
Absolutely. So in our world, like when we are like first time launching a new product, so the world of cosmetic scientists, our products are divided into EPDs and NPDs. I'll elaborate for the audience. So EPD stands for existing product development, and NPD stands for new product development. So when you are reformulating something due to compliance reason or due to material not being available or material getting discontinued, those are real problem for us as a cosmetic scientist. Happens lot more on the European side than the US side. I think we have very sharp timelines when European Commission announce something, it's getting banned, market entry by X date, market exit by Y date. So, but we handle those like pretty much in a similar process that I would mention. So I think it all starts with a blank idea that is fed by a consumer insight or a consumer need gap. So you start from there. And then at that point of time, you decide that what do you want to create? How you want the product to feel? How you want the product to interact with the person? What problem are you solving? So you first answer those questions. So that's pretty much dives into what like R&D gets a brief. So at the brief point, R&D then like whether the technical team actually starts working on, okay, I want to achieve this kind of texture, this kind of sensorial to solve like whether it's dark spot, whether it's well aging, whether it's like acne, what are the problems I want to solve? And at that point of time, they will look into different actives, innovative actives that would work in harmony to create or achieve that. And like, because texture is an important element, so it's not only your hero actives, also what's the basic chassis of the formula? Is it a serum? Is it a lotion? Is it a cream? Because from the translation of a concept to when you get into the nitty-gritty of the lab, like a thin lotion versus a cream, it's a lot difference. Your choice of emulsifier, even your choice of preservative is different. Sometimes it's heavily depends on the brand. Sometimes I have seen it's heavily dictated by the retailer you're launching with. Like, let's say Whole Foods or Sephora. They have their own set of ingredients that they won't allow or prefer not to have. Like, and a brand, let's say they want to be Sephora clean. So they have to design their NPD to fit into that category.
That's true.
So it's not an afterthought that, yes, we have decided the product, Sephora, will you take it? If you're not designing of thinking that retailer in mind, then you're not getting into those brick and mortar channels. So it's like all of those thoughts gets into. And then when that matrix is created of what I want to use, then you get into what we call our world prototyping. Innumerous amount of prototypes and like versions after versions before we find our final one that meets everything we wanted to achieve in the cost and the compliance matrix. Because I might create something even better if my target was like £8. But if I am trying to do something at 50p, it's little different. So when you are developing something for the prestige category that you'll be able to sell at a RRP £40 onwards or a 50 euros onwards, you have a lot of things that you can afford to have it. Not necessarily, it's like you can't really compare a £5 product. It's like, why it's not performing up to that level. It's not possible because those scientists were given a certain cost target brief.
Some limitations.
Yeah, to the limitation that they have to abide by. That does it make drugstore product less effective? No. I think as the brand grows, there is an economy of scale that comes in play. So even for brands like L'Oreal or Unilever, like the big brands like Dove or Pantene, they have the ability to afford very costly actives because they have that buying powers. They can buy
big
so many volumes. And like consumers have like no idea how does the price per kilo changes at every possible price break. If you're buying in the sets of 25 kilo versus 1 ton, the price is here and here. So I think a lot of those comes in place when we are developing the product. So we get the prototyping and then the grilling begins, truly. What I called is my grilling phase. So that's when we actually put it into stability, compatibility, and as well as preservative efficacy. So we are basically trying to stress the formula to break it. The concept is it won't break. So that's the ideal goal. So it won't break. And like, have products failed in stability in my career? Yes. Have we pivoted across and still launched in time? Yes. I think every cosmetic scientist or the lab knows how to pivot. But I think, as you have asked, it's like stability and integrity of a formula is something I would never compromise in my career, ever. I think marketing stories can be pivoted based on the best structure, sensorial. But I think if you are trying to make an unstable formula and still launch it in the market with a risk, I think your product might launch in time, may not stay in the test of time. So that's what I believe.
It makes sense. If you launch something that it's not good enough, the consumer will know.
Yeah, and I believe it's not only your first purchase. So from a consumer point of view, it's not your first purchase that matters. It also matters if you're coming back for the purchase. So the repeat purchase. So if you look into the cult classics of our world, formulation that existed for 20, 25 years, because they were stable at that point of time, they're stable still now, they're still relevant now. So a formula to become a cult classic, it need to have the integrity from the very beginning.
And what about packaging? How does that differ in different developments, or how does that affect the formulation and the development?
I think it impacts a lot. I think when I started as a formulator, I would say, I underestimated packaging, I would say, because, I thought like, well, we are formulators. So it's like, it is the formula that sells the product. It's finally the packaging. That's just to hold it. But it's not true. It's basically, packaging plays a very important ability to basically tell your story. A great formula in a wrong packaging ruins the consumer experience. So yes, I am not a fan of over packaging. So I really, as a consumer, I really do not care on the hot stamp or silk screen. But I think, especially if a high active formula where you're putting a lot of actives, having the chosen of right airless pack, so it has minimal air interaction. I think packaging functionality is more important than packaging decorativeness. I think packaging functionality is crucial. Packaging decorativeness is a choice of brands, but I have to say, when you walk in in a store, whether you are walking in Sephora or any of your favorite store, it is the packaging, the 30-second glance that basically creates that intrigueness in you to walk across to it and to hold up. So if your packaging is not attractive enough, it's not contrast enough, it's not legible enough, you're not getting picked. So I think it's equally important.
Yeah.
That's true. From a marketing point of view, that's
of course
super important.
But from a technical point of view, you also have to take into account that it has to have its crucial functionality for stability and everything that you
both
said.
worlds have to coexist together.
Absolutely. I think it's all in our world to make a product. It takes an army of people. I think a lot of people do not understand that it takes a village full of people to bring a very successful product alive. And when there are a lot of now indie brands who are the founders are doing multiple hats, I'm telling you, they're working really hard and they are working like many people's job.
Exactly.
But it doesn't lose the point of one functionality missing. They are doing everything. So it is like, I think, a formula, packaging, communication, it's all part of the same story.
Yeah, especially, well, when you start, if you start small, you have to do a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I have one question
Okay.
regarding the development as well. So specifically for the UK market, you say that at the beginning everything comes now from the idea or the need from the consumer. For the UK market specifically, what is there that is not for other markets? For example, we know that a big chain or manufacturer, everything is Boots. Like,
Yeah.
how does that big player has affected the development of other products in your experience?
I think people doesn't understand how rigorous is to enter to Boots. So Boots actually, and like I tell from my own experience, and I have also launched Unilever prestige products in Boots, like for the brand I worked, and they actually do check your formulation. They do go through your product information files. So they are beyond as what we call just a retailer. Their process of compliance on claims and in terms of like understanding ingredient transparency is quite rigorous. So when you say like product X is Boots bestseller,
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to have, because it's like it also, like consumers in UK do take that in consideration. First of all, it's not easy to stay in the finance game of constantly be a top seller. So, but that's a finance piece of it. But also from the compliance piece of it, if your product information file was not in the top shape, you're not even entering in Boots, nonetheless being top seller.
Okay.
So I think it's also have a seal of credibility,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
from to the UK consumer. And like even like just to give an example, it's like for sun care, and that's only primarily in UK, you know, like how Asian market have PA++, and like broad spectrum, it's pretty used like commonly across the world, UVA, UVB. But in UK, Boots have the Boots Star system. Yes, and like it's a special test that your product have to do, and it's called Boots Star rating actually.
Wow.
Wow.
So and like when we launched actually, so we had like Boots Star testing. So it's a protocol that you have to follow, which will qualify. And majority of the brands who are selling in Boots for the sun care category, they have a sun star rating.
And
So
what does it stand for? What is it measuring?
higher the star, the better the quality. So
the quality of the SPF?
Of the SPF. And like that's not only, and it's like you would find a higher SPF value for a lower star, but the star system actually talks about the overall protection, the broad spectrum, as well as the integrity of the product. So it's not easy to get into higher stars. So it's like quite rigorous, and it's pretty much at par of like in the other world, which are mandatory ISO testing. It's like equally hard and like time taking also. So, but like there are agencies.
It's an extra step in the
It's an extra
development
step.
process, right?
Because you don't need to do that, and it's not cheap. It's the test is costly. It's like a few $1,000s. So it's like, but if you need to go to Boots and sell your sun care, you need to have a Boots Star rating. And even if you're not selling in Boots for a sun care, even the other retailers do ask, what's your Boots Star score?
Oh.
So I think like it's like that tells like why Boots is Boots.
And probably
for
the
reason.
consumer. If
they
they want to
yes.
compare to different brands, different products,
Yes.
and they know about that,
Yes.
they are going to compare the rating from Boots.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
And that is very different from other chains, right? Like Boots, the quality that this delivers or that it implies in the consumer perception.
Yeah, and I also think because it's a legacy chain in UK. So if you look into Space NK or like Sephora, there are like roughly 8 Sephoras now in UK, and I think Space NK is like one of the like highest growing retailer in the UK market, especially in the prestige category. But Boots has been bread and butter for years. For years. And I think like the footfall that Boots can bring into the different zip codes, like, or the postcodes, like that level of market penetration in a brick and mortar model for cosmetics is only offered, I would say, for like Boots. And I think like we intentionally took a decision to like launch in booths to gain that footfall. As a prestige brand, I was working. We had like good level of market penetration, especially being a British-born brand. But I think we wanted to cater into every possible zip codes, even into the outskirts beyond London and into the suburban area, and we were able to achieve it through Booth's brick and mortar channel and like the .com. So it does open a lot of doors, and it increases your consumer demographic, I would say, consumer space. So
well, it's part of the investment in the process of launching, but if you do it right, you get your reward.
yes, absolutely.
Well, very interesting. Thank you for sharing. We would like to bring another topic, and it's the increasing demand that we have seen regarding consumers looking for clean actives. I mean, they don't want any more like synthetic ingredients, or they are more concerned about the traceability of the origin of their ingredients and the active of the products. How do you say that this demand is affecting the UK market, and especially in the product development process?
I think heavily. Have I been challenged? Yes, very much. I think it is making the work for the cosmetic scientists harder and harder.
But more interesting, more fun.
Very, I would not say how interesting it is. I would definitely say it's definitely challenging because, see, we have global regulation. And like, if you want to launch a globally compliant product, that definition of the sentence is as vague as it can be. What is a globally compliant product? Okay, how many are you considering? Australia, New Zealand? Are you considering Asian? Are you considering European Union? Are you considering LATAM? It just gets all over the places. It's quite impossible to hit in the sun care category. Believe me, I have tried to make a globally compliant like an SPF, like especially if you want zero white cast SPF, your bucket is very limited. But for the other categories, it is possible. But when you say, I think what is clean? Every brand has a different opinion of what cleans mean to them. I think it's very subjective. So what consumer perceive clean is how you communicate clean to them. I think whether it's like whether you are a brand that has a certain list of ingredients that you choose not to formulate with, it's your own choice. So like a lot of retailers actually have a lot of ingredients which are perfectly safe to use from the safety point of view, from a cosmetic science point of view.
The regulations are allowed to formulate with them?
Yes, absolutely. And like especially like I think like the fear mongering does exist in our world, whether we like it or not. But there is like, if you take paraben, for example, there is a huge revelation like paraben is bad, and every possible brand, even I have worked on like chassis of formula that we moved out of paraben because there was a trend or the curve. So like there are certain ingredients that has a lot of negative press. Some of them are truly unsafe as the research has evolved over time. So something that we really did not know, we know now and we do not use them. But there is a posed list choice by the brand. But when you work for a brand that has a certain no list as a formulator, you have to abide by that rule. That's the matrix compliance I mentioned earlier. You have to abide by that. So, and you have to like formulate against it. Is it possible? Yes, I think like the highest challenge is to build choice of emulsifier and preservative. I think that's where you get very limited. If you want to include everyone, you are not left with any preservative system to work with. And then if you have a certain preservative, I know a lot of brand and I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues from different brand who are, let's say a certain brand does not allow propylene glycol. A lot of brands do not allow propylene glycol. But some of the best actives in our world have propylene glycol in it. So you're automatically are shoving those actives out. Like, I cannot use it because you have propylene glycol as a carrier, or I don't use glycol. So butylene glycol, propylene glycol, both are out. So it also understand it's like when you actually do not allow a certain range of ingredient, it's not only that ingredient as is, but it also in the choice of like the preservative system you can use for the active. So it's limits. So that makes the job challenging, but is cosmetic scientists are capable of doing that? Yes, 100%. So I think we rise above the challenge.
Okay. And you've said that what does clean mean, no, for the market? How do you think has evolved the meaning of clean in the last years? Like, what is now understood by clean, or for you, what is it? Like, I don't know, the balance or the microbiome has something to do with that meaning?
Yes. I think, in my opinion, I think the latest version of clean means being respectful to your microbiome. I think the 2024, especially post-pandemic, I think consumers across the globe are very concerned about their barrier. I think everyone actually were so interested in using so many actives, like whether it's vitamin C, retinol, niacinamide, had super high percentage, and constantly use them. You do not understand that what is the impact of everything so great at one single time. Your skin, everything super powerful disrupts the microbiome. And I think if you disrupt the microbiome, I personally feel, and I did like one episode also in my podcast, is I personally feel those your skin microbiome are the invisible influencers. You do not know they exist, but they do matter. So whether your 15% vitamin C will work or not, if you have a disrupted microbiome and your barrier is broken, your 15% well-formulated vitamin C will irritate you. But if you have a strong barrier, then your actives will work. So for any actives, powerful actives to work, it need a strong microbiome. So from the ingredient side also, I have seen a lot of new launches. Those are microbiome friendly. I think being respectful to the microbiome, and then the next half is rebalancing the microbiome, which is like feeding the good bacteria, diminishing the bad bacteria, is what the future is like moving towards.
So interesting. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, barrier function is super necessary.
100%.
But if we talk about clean skincare and what the consumer understands by it, we wanted to bring out one of your first-hand experiences in product development, which was with Ren, which was recently closed by Unilever, but it was a pioneer in clean skincare. So for you, that move by Unilever, what does it tell about, brand launching and brands in general and product development in the UK and the success of brands or more niche brands in this market?
Well, that's a very controversial question, I would say. So I'll try to give a fair answers to it. So I think like Unilever launch, closing down Ren, it's like obviously I feel very sad about it. It's such close to my heart. But I think when Ren was launched in early 2000, born out of East London for sensitive skin, and they were true clean skincare, true pioneers at that point of time. But we have to understand consumers evolve, the way they think, the way they communicate, and the way they interact. And brands have to evolve along with it. So what was a pioneer once, like now clean is a category norm. It cannot be just a selling point. It is a basic expectation.
It's like a mask that you have to...
It is like, it's by default. So also the sensitive skin and like carved or created for sensitive skin, I think majority of the brands now, at least now, have a sensitive skin range or have addressed even the base formulas that caters to the sensitive skin in any way. So the brand channels has widened. So I think from any brand to be successful and staying relevant is more important. So it's not only what the original story was, it's like how you evolve your story over time, how you articulate your message over time. I think like adapting to the consumer voice is very important. And I think the brands who are not doing it will fall through the crack in the matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always been like that, right? When you're a pioneer and you succeed in one specific trend, you're a trend setter, but maybe you're also a category setter, like you've said, and then it's no longer a trend. So you're no longer that attractive or not that different
There's more
from others.
competition and
Yeah,
it's interesting.
because it
You have
was
to-
it was a differentiator once. Now it's like everyone is doing that. So
Exactly.
the question of what else? So I think although even if your formula is great, if your articulation is not so great, so that product storytelling piece, I strongly feel comes in play. And I think like if you have a fantastic product, but you're not communicating well to your audience, if you're not connecting with them, they're not vibing with you, then that's not like be successful. I have seen in my career, some of the great formulas actually have not seen the commercial success as it should have based on the ingredients in it. But some well done, not so great formulas have seen some of the best commercial success ever because it really talked the story out, what it is designed to do, what it is trying to achieve, and how it gonna achieve. So I think progress over perfection really matters to today's consumer.
Yeah. And listening to them, right? Keeping in contact with them. That's something that, I've been learning a lot through this podcast, that everyone tells us that like you need to keep the contact with your consumer and listen to them and readapt to their needs.
100%.
well, I think that now we would like to bring something new to our regular Provi Talks, and well, especially as you are here, you are an expert on the matter. We bring a new challenge to do.
Yes. Your podcast or your communications are always around decoding beauty, right?
Yes, it is.
So we've brought you a product from the UK. You see it here. This is, let me call it for anyone who doesn't, who is not watching us.
Interesting.
Is the ginger scalp care from the Body Shop. So quite famous brand, obviously. So we would like you to decode this product. So please tell us about the INCI and the ingredients and what do you think about it? And, like if it was your podcast.
Okay. I'm in the spotlight now. Okay. So I think it's a peelable label. So it's like if this is the primary packaging. So yes. So let me read into the INCI. So, okay. Aqua propentiol. Okay, so it's a very well, it's like if like this product, although it sounds very simple, ginger scalp care serum, and the hero ingredient, as I said, like a ginger root essential oil, which knowing Body Shop, I think it's coming from one of their fair trade. I think this one comes from Madagascar, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So, but if you look into the INCI, I think the story is far down than just the hero ingredient, I would say. So let's try to read it. So it's like it has Scutularia bicalcis root extract, and then Triticum vulgare and soya bean. I think it is using your bicapil.
When you said Scutularia, I was like,
I think first of all, that INCI is not so easy.
This was a test. Of how well does she know Provital?
I do. I think So I think this is using, so apart from which is if anybody does not know bicapil, it's it's great for hair loss and overall hair density growth. I personally use it every day, not in this product, but I think it is the most used Provital product on me. I use the ordinary multi-peptide serum. So it's for my hair, I take hair care very seriously now, especially after pandemic when I've lost half of my hair. So, I think it is using bicapil. And let me look into further. It's actually, it has propanediol, so it's like a lot of good carrier. It has panthenol, sodium hyaluronate, so basically it's like hydration. It has like good amount of humectant in it, and also is it like, yeah, it's Epilobium angustolium flower extract that maybe defends scalp from Lucas-Meyer, because that's a very rare INCI, and that INCI actually used across only a few, but like a lot of them have like Helianthus anna, like a sunflower carrier, and this one does not have it. So maybe they're using defense scalp. I didn't formulate it. I'm just like reading the INCI, I would say. But I think it's a very well balanced. So it has like not one, like two very strong hair care actives. So I think for fine weak hair, promotes fuller looking hair. Yes, it will do that. Like it has everything that it needs to.
Yes. And they only promote, at the first glance, the ginger for that
hero,
attraction.
Yeah.
But then, wow, 2 actives in
I think definitely for sure. So, and it has, this one also has the willow bark extract. So a lot of people do not know willow bark is like rich in BHA, which is salicylic acid. So basically it will help remove the product buildup, which like as we are, if we're treating our hair or like using different shampoos, like the product built up in scalp. So a gentle exfoliation without like itching too much. So if you have too much buildup, you would see a lot of flakes, which like a lot of people confuses with dandruff, because flakes and dandruffs are completely different. So I think like it will help with that too. So a really well done formula. See, like the INCI tells a farther long story. Like this is a pure balance of biotechnology and botanicals, not just ginger. So,
oh wow.
Wow.
And
Excellent.
what would you say about the packaging here? Because we asked about like if it's transparent, does it, like for this formulation, do you think they've played with the color to prevent sunlight or something like that? Or
so first of all, this is a serum. So people will actually like take it like that. So because it's a dropper and you actually gonna put it on the scalp. So the dropper mechanism helps from an ease of application. So why they did it color? Purely because it will help the photo oxidation. It will help reduce the photo oxidation. So I think, and the green is a very standard body shop color, I would say. I think you would say like if they were using...
The stores are green.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like the regular color, if you're going to a packaging manufacturer, like generally it's the brown, the blue and the white are the more common. Like the greens are not so common, especially in this size form. So I think it's custom made. But like having green, first of all, not that it would discolor over time, but if it was a transparent packaging and it is in the shelf for a longer period of time, natural formulas tend to go a little browning. If it is opaque or if it is colored, you're just not seeing it. And when you're seeing it, like even here, it is less versus when it's in a bulk volume. So it's a clever choice of packaging. So which is a good thing.
interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
So did I pass?
I think you really did. 10 out of 10.
For me, you passed when you unflipped it, or how do you call it?
Oh, the
when you
leaflet.
opened the leaflet, like what? I didn't know you could do that. Like
Yeah, because generally in our worlds, like the ingredient list or INCI list actually either in the secondary packaging, but if there is no secondary packaging, it's a must it's a must component by the UK compliance to have it on pack. So it's somewhere. So when you have a minimalist packaging, it's your packaging engineer's job to make it as seamless as possible. So if you pick it up, you won't realize. But if you look very closely, they do have a sign that tells it's peelable. So that's actually a portion of what your creative manager or your packaging manager would design. So that sign tells it's peelable.
That's so cool. So cool. Well, now that we've entered the ingredient world, we've introduced this world, let's say. From your experience, what are the key factors that make you choose one supplier or another one for ingredients? Like what are you taking into account? What do you think is indispensable to build for you to trust that supplier for ingredients?
As a cosmetic formulator?
Exactly.
Okay, so for me, what I personally believe that for any brands or any product, You choose your hero ingredient clever, but you choose your workhorses smarter. Because as you cannot actually can you create a Broadway show or an Oscar-winning film just with your hero or heroine? No, you actually need a very strong crew behind. So for a product to really perform, how do you choose your preservatives, your emulsifier, your rheology modifiers? Everything is important. So I choose the ingredients when I look into the suppliers, that the ingredients that can work in harmony. But like in terms of choosing individual ingredient, I'm a big in vivo fan. It's like I personally feel, so whenever I meet the suppliers, they start with in vitro communication. It's like, and for me, it's like, let's skip to the in vivo, please. Because I personally feel, and like I do mean it, in vitro results sells the ingredient, in vivo results sells the product.
Oh, yeah.
So when you have, say, 2% of ingredient A will give you, we have seen in vivo results of the brightness in 14 days of this. That's a transferable results, which means if I use that ingredient at 2% and I repeat my test on luminosity, or whether it's a Visia scan for hyperpigmentation, I have a fairly good chance, 85% chance of being successful, because those tests are very expensive, and any brand I'm working with, they definitely are not paying for a 30,000 euro test to fail. So you want your money to be utilized correctly. So when I see strong in vivo results, like a strong data point, that is my first choice. But then I also am I'm an ingredient lover myself. And I like to know the nitty-gritty about the ingredient. I like to know how it is sourced, how it is processed, what's the soul of the ingredient, what's the story behind, and can I bring that story live to my consumer to tell the story, to create that connection, because every ingredient is a story to be told. So any ingredient that, I'm a biotechnology engineer myself. So for me, it's like any ingredients that is created through biotechnology, biofermentation, and also like whether it's like hand harvested botanicals, anything that makes the ingredient unique, that gives me an opportunity to use the product. Like let me give you an example of yours. Like you launched Pure Bloom this year, and like what caught my eye, and like I got to know about the ingredient actually in this year's in cosmetics in Amsterdam. So it is the first agro-psychological ingredient. Like I think, like to me, when I heard that create the uniqueness, because that was the first time I came across, then I understood, okay, what does it mean? What does the story tell? So it's an ingredient that works on like 3 vertical: anti-aging, anti-acne, as well as regenerative properties for something what we are trying to create for our ever-evolving woman, which is me. Which is like, I want to be that person.
You feel identified.
Yes, I could like resonate with it. And I think there are several of the women who will like feel that way actually. So for me, it's like, that's what timeless beauty means. So I really connected with it. So an ingredient, not just the science, but also has a soul. So when I choose ingredients, that's what I look for.
Yeah. And it also has amazing in vivo. So
of course, that's like to start
with.
the first it's the first gate, I would say.
Okay.
No, very interesting. I think it's that what we are saying. You have to consider both worlds, right? The proven efficacy, but also how can you translate and pass on this message to the final consumer.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm like, it's still very new, but like I'm waiting to utilize it in one of my launches. So like,
Definitely, we would love to see a final product. You wouldn't be the first one because we have some success cases already in the market.
Oh, that's good.
But probably in the UK, you still can be the first one.
Okay, yeah, I know. I love when it's like, okay, we are the first one. So like we miss the race. But I think it's good that some brands are really taking it, because I think it's a wonderful story that to be told. And like, the moment I heard it, and I think I did an interview with Provital at In Cosmetics, which is like now live at YouTube also, that it felt mesmerizing and I love your video. If anybody have not watched the video, I think it's a very well crafted, beautiful video. It just takes you through the moment, I would say. Like the moment you watch it, you say like, yes, I am that person. So that I think that's what I define as an emotional connection. And I think that's what like the brands are looking for now. So to create that emotional connection, because anti-aging, anti-acne, okay, we have so many ingredients, okay? Why you? And I think that having that uniqueness like separates it.
I feel so flattered.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us. We love it, of course. Now we would like to change and go to the consumer perspective.
Okay.
You mentioned at the beginning the comparison between, let's say, mass market products, not so pricey, versus more prestige brands with higher prices, and also the composition and the cost of formula are better. Well, better, more high.
Higher, yeah.
Let's say higher. So from a consumer point of view, if they would like to really understand how to test the quality of a product, what tips can you give them so they can do it by themselves?
Well, first it's hard because it took a lot of years of education for that. But if you want to decode by INCI list, like ChatGPT is not your best solution. Let me first start, because a lot of people have started doing that. Like it probably, it can give some good answers, but not really always the best or the correct answers. So I think I think a picture tells the story. So I would say whether you're choosing a mass brand or you're choosing any prestige brands, look into the results. I think look into the results, before and after pictures, what kind of test, and like look into like in the UK markets and the European market, like you can see there are stars that will actually says like with the before and after, what is the time point? Like they have like, is it a 4 weeks? Is it a 2 weeks? Is it a 8 weeks? Like a 56 days, especially for anti-aging or well-aging category, 56 days is very important.
Yeah.
Miracles do not happen overnight. So first, be patient. So and do not go overboard on the actives. And if you're choosing actives, so whether it's your vitamin C or retinol, see if it is how higher in the list of INCI it is. If it is like dialed down at the bottom with like tons of carriers and everything, then it's definitely not at a very high percentage until they have a particular percentage that is like written that they are using. But also just percentage is not everything, because if you say vitamin C, L-ascorbic acid versus like O-ethyl ascorbate, or if somebody is using THD form, like is the forms of vitamin C also matters. So not everything need to be at a higher percentage. You can actually, your delivery system, encapsulation, that matters. So understand the technology and like go by the results. And I think do not expect miracles overnight. Be consistent. I think a lot of people does not understand, like, so for even vitamin C or tranexamic acid or alpha-arbutin, it takes 6 to 8 weeks at least, in some cases 8 to 12 weeks even to see. And you have to be consistent, like morning, night, they have to be consistent every day, like constantly using. I personally am a very active driven person myself. I use a lot of skincare and a lot of actives. I do use skin cycling, so it's not like too much, but you do have to be consistent. I think I personally, vitamin C and niacinamide, I am using for like last 8 years every day without fail. Like until I have like a huge breakout, then I'm like giving a barrier day. But otherwise it's like you have to be consistent. Consistency is the key. But if you're trying to analyze by INCI this or that, go and look into the communication of what the brand is communicating. It's like if they are telling particularly that you can expect this, or is it tested if you're a man and like, okay, the result is only on women. Like I think a lot of the brands now are trying to be more inclusive in their panel. So it depends like on the particular product, but results over everything. So if the brand is tested against the results, then it probably, whether it's an $8 product or a $25 product or a $100 product, results speaks for everything. But you have to be understanding based on the product, when you can see the results might vary.
Okay. Got it. I think consumers in the audience may have got it as well. now to end, we wanted to, make consumers and brands understand how all of these that you've mentioned during the interview will affect the future. So in terms of innovation or formulation or regulation as well, what can we expect for the UK market in, let's say, the following 5 years?
I think the brands have to formulate being responsible to the microbiome, I think, in some way or that way, whether it's through external certification, having own internal certification. I think they have to be respectful because the consumers demand it. So if you are not communicating to them, if you're not feeding them the information, they look for the information. So sooner you feed, the better. If they do not get the information, they move on. Simple as that. Like, we are in the world of skin switchers now. I think brand loyalty is gone, honestly. So it's like, because every brand have their version of retinol, every brand have their version of vitamin C. Until you have a really unique product with a unique proposition or a patented ingredient, your communication is your only way to hook your audience getting hooked. So like, I think like, so having responsible with the microbiome is a key, but I think as a cosmetic scientist who are on the other side of the story, I think our future next 3 years with IFRA guidelines are changing actually. And EU is expanding the list of allergens from 26 to 80. I think we are seeing a lot of EPDs coming our way. So we'll be very busy in like reformulating or like working on the like a revised artwork. And like, we just completed Lilial, moving out of every fragrance that are Lilial. So anybody who are not using fragrances, less work for them, but anybody who are using fragrances, which is massive amount of, like, they are looking at a lot of EPDs, so people will be busy, I would say.
Well, that always happens because the regulations are updating. As you mentioned also before, what we knew back in the day, it's not what we know right now. So you can understand, right, that there's some regulations, and that brings this extra work for you with the EPDs.
Yeah, keeps us busy, I would say.
Definitely.
It keeps us busy. So I think we like EPDs of our worlds are very equally important, because NPD is the what gets your product known. It's your brand awareness. But EPDs that brings the constant finance back to the funnel. It feeds your supply chain. It feeds like the raw material orders. It feeds the manufacturing order. It keeps your factory moving. So I think like we have to be respectful and love our EPDs as much as we love our NPDs, I would say.
I love that. I will put that as a slogan. Great. That's great. Well, we've come to the end.
Yeah, well, it's been really, really amazing hearing about everything. So
much information.
Thank you.
But before we end, as you probably know, we have our last section is regarding some quick fire questions to get to know a little bit more about how you see the industry. So let's start.
Let's start.
Okay. The first one, as a really lover of cosmetics, we would like to know which is the last cosmetic product that you purchased.
Ooh, I do buy and get a lot of product. I also get a lot of product now as an influencer also. But the last product I actually bought 2. So the first is La Roche-Posay Cisa Plus B5 balm, I think, called Classic Formulas. Stand against the test of time. Worked for barrier, works for barrier, will work for barrier. So it's like, I love that. And I also have bought the Paula's Choice Uber Youth Hydrating Fluid SPF 50. Again, a formula that probably was launched in 2017. So they have a lot of new launches. I still like the old classic, keep going back to my like blue tube.
That happens.
I love it. Like, I think like it takes a lot of craftsmanship to create a classic that stand against time.
That's true. I think that all the brands want to have at least one of those products, right? As standard, they know that the consumers love it.
Yeah. So those are the last 2.
Yeah. Well, the Cisa Plus one is a really good product. I also think so. Well, okay, next question. What you look for the first thing that you look for when you're purchasing cosmetics?
I look for strong clinicals. So whether it's a drugstore, I think it's very obvious. So as
I was going to say, I think you
consumer,
mentioned.
because I know a lot. I'm a true beauty insider. I know what goes in, the rigor that goes in. I always look for clear communication. So if I'm like choosing an eye cream, I see the before and after, and I see the time point. So it doesn't matter that I need a dramatic improve. For me, progress over perfection, that matters. So I look for very strong, and I also read all the stars. So, like, it's just like, okay, you have that, like, have they tested in 13 people or 76 people? So it's like, I do read that. So, and like the bigger is the roster size, that convinces me more. So yeah, I'm much more data-driven person.
And we didn't ask you, or we didn't mention, I think, that your formulations or your developments have won many awards. So what importance do you give to that as a consumer?
I think like awards are great. I think it creates awareness of a brand. It also boosts sales from a finance point of view. So it's like, do I personally as a consumer, it doesn't motivate me that much. Okay. Now, sitting on the other side from a brand point of view, I know it motivates the consumer. Yeah. It does. I think like when you win a Cosmopolitan, which I did in one of my launches, and like when you win a Allure, and whether you are Marie Claire best face oil of the year, which I did, it does impact. We could see. So we had a product that won that for Marie Claire, I think 3 years ago. And whatever is our forecast for that product was for the whole year, we sold in 3 months. So
after receiving
the awards, yeah.
Amazing.
So you work towards the forecast.
Course, yeah,
so you thought we would sell X amount of units in the whole year, and there were quite unique few materials which had like supply chain constraint. So we have secured enough quantity, but then we sold everything that we thought we will sell in a year in 3 months. And then the new challenge starts of getting the materials in time, because when you win an award and when your sales momentum is growing, you do not want to lose the momentum.
Exactly.
And you do not
you have to be ready to.
Yeah, and you do not want the out of stock situation. Your salespeople will be very not happy. Let's politely put it that way. So definitely not happy.
Course.
So that creates another challenges for R&D and supply chain. Okay, I want that oil. Let's make it happen. So then different like conversation happens, like buying strategies happen. So, but generally our world is very well prepared, I would say. Like for all my critical ingredient, I've always prepared, buffered enough, especially if it's a single source supply.
Yeah, to be right. Well, next question. Which is your favorite active ingredient from Provital?
Okay, yeah, that's a tough one, because when you have a few, well, mine is actually Altheostem. So we are in Barcelona now. It's actually the first time 2 years ago in Cosmetics Barcelona that I actually met Provital team. I met Yasmin, and like she explained me the ingredient. And so dermo-hacking senescence, I think it was first of its kind when it actually came from this beautiful like Althea roses plant stem cell. So it's my absolute favorite, like just from the concept point of view. The clinical results are astonishing. So I absolutely love them. Like and when I have explained it to my marketing, it's like, okay, how does the ingredient work? So I actually tell them, like, think of it as a gardener, like it actually knows which are the weeds and which are the black plants to take out. So your garden is ever blooming, and it's like it's harvesting properly. So, when you actually explain it in this way, it's just easier to digest. That's what I do in my channel also. I try to simplify how the product is working, so it becomes much more relatable and the consumer can connect.
Well, I think you have some background for marketing as well.
Never thought of that. Who knows?
Yeah. You could try it.
Okay. Next question then. Complete the sentence. The best thing about the cosmetics industry is?
That it is ever evolving, that it makes us feel confident about us each and every day. It makes us stronger because I think when you see yourself in the mirror and if you feel good about it, you become a much more confident person. So I think it also warm as an industry. I think it's a very problem solution industry. So that's what I love. I think as a biotech engineer, I never thought I would work in cosmetics. Then I landed into the R&D of an FMCG company of my very first job, and I've never left. 15 years still like working in the
that
same
happens.
cosmetics
Once
industry.
you get in,
Yeah,
you don't get
there's
out.
no out. And I can't
Nice.
imagine of working in like, any other sector because I love what I do. So that's what I love.
Well, and now, what's the worst part?
Well, although behind the glass, I think what breaks my heart saying there's a lot of waste and there is a lot of waste. So although the brands are working really hard on emphasizing sustainable practices, but in real life, whether it's using or especially in the sampling category, single-use plastics are very huge. Even for the brand who have had a sustainable packaging choice for their full-size product, might not have a sustainable solution for their sampling plan. So there is a lot of waste. Also, when like I'm a big fan of naturals, but a lot of natural actives actually has a lot of waste also, especially in the essential oils. Not that they are bad, but it also generates a lot of waste. So I love when there is a circular economy is involved. I love the ingredients that comes out of biotechnology. Yeah. But it is a challenge that the industry is finding its way to handle it. But the problems still exist, and we have miles to go before we sleep.
Okay, miles to go. This brings me to the last question, which is very much related to your answer now, which is name 3 aspects that will make, that are needed in all industries, let's say, to make a beautiful future.
Well, I think first is definitely sustainability, because we have to, whether a raw material manufacturer like you, or whether it's a brand owner like me, we have to be conscious of what we bring to the planet. We have to make planet positive beauty. So sustainability is definitely very important. Next, I think, is inclusivity. I think every shape, form, color, ethnicity needs to be respected, needs to be heard. I think I have started seeing a lot of actives which are now inclusively tested. So when you are launching a product which is coming out of Spain or Italy or France, for example, but you're launching into the market like India, where it's a different skin tone, but you see the actives that are only tested in Caucasian skin. And I know I have colleagues in India who are thinking whether it will work in my market. So when, as an ingredient supplier, you are inclusively testing against all Fitzpatrick skills, like skin type, it gives more confidence to the respective region cosmetic scientists. So inclusivity is very important, and testing never goes away. So test, I would say, like having stronger tests. Now there is a lot of machine learning involved. I think like even your latest launch, it's like there are AI that are involved. So I think like we cannot shy away from technology. We have to embrace it. So it's like how we evolve our testing standards. What are the tests possible for, whether it's brightening, hyperpigmentation, acne, blemishes, just like how we evolve different kinds of tests also have evolved over time. So the more tests we have in Vivo, again, I'm a big in Vivo fan. So more really unique test for like comes in the testing category, because every year in cosmetics when I come across a few tests that was not done few years ago. Like, I remember 3 years apparent aging in one of the Provital actives. When I heard that kind of testing was not done before. So I think like when the suppliers choose to surprise me, I like to be surprised. So it's a good surprise.
Yeah, that's good. But we have had the chance to surprise you somehow with our actives, of course.
Well,
So
yeah. Thank you, Rinki. This has been incredibly illuminating. It's been amazing. And I think the audience will walk away with not just buzzwords. You've brought real technical insight. You've given us some formulation secrets, regulation clarity. So really, really thank you.
And as always, thank you to our audience for listening and watching us. You will have in the description of the episode the links to the social for Rinki. Don't forget to also follow her podcast, INCI by Rinki, and we'll see you in the next Provi Talks.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching and listening to Provi Talks. We hope this episode brought you one step closer to imagining and creating the beauty of what's to come. Subscribe to our channel for the next conversation and connect with us anytime